everyone, so moving over to video number 2 now. Something else I've been doing, well, I did a bit of painting today, but also I've been reading this book here. It's called, this is really, really cottagecore, and it's similar to Bramley Hedge, which I showed you last time. But I've been reading a Foxwood Treasury. This is a children's book, but the illustrations are absolutely amazing, and I like really, really cottagecore. I think the illustrations are the best part of the book. The story's okay, but it's really the illustrations for me. I just love it. They're just eye candy and like works of art. I just love it, you know, good pictures in here, just really good and just really, really cottagecore and like, I don't know, just really nostalgic and like I'll just find one just to show you what I mean. Like for example this, you can't get more cottagecore than that. I mean you just can't. I might use this to inspire my how I'm going to accessorise the Sylvanian Lodge, because that is proper cottagecore. I mean you can't get more cottagecore. You can't get more cottagecore than that. This, by the way, is 1980, Cynthia and Brian Patterson. It's aimed at kids. Obviously, it's a kids' book, kids' story. But it doesn't mean, obviously, adults can't enjoy it as well. I mean, lots of adults like kids' books, you know. I think adults appreciate them in different ways. To kids, it's often the illustrations and things like that, and the nostalgia factor that adults like. And in these times, you need things like that. You need comforting things, I think. Innocent, you know, easy things. That just escapism, really. It just takes you out of yourself, you know. Don't have to think too hard. Yeah, so I've been reading that. And what else has been going on? Oh yes, something else I wanted to talk about. This is something to do with my autism and misunderstandings and the way I have to often try and educate people about my disability, which can be quite kind of wearing and uses up a lot of spoons, a lot of energy, in other words. So I am seeing a psychologist at the moment. She's a very good psychologist, and she's been helping me cooking fish, and I've basically pretty much overcome my phobia around handling raw fish and cooking it. Not much anxiety now. Obviously I still have some anxiety, but you know, nowhere near what it was, and I can do it, and yeah, and that's great. And she's been helping me with that, and that's really positive. She's a very good psychologist. I've got nothing against her. She's a good psychologist, and I have a good working relationship with her. But she's, she's trained in autism. I don't think autism's the only thing she specialises in, but she's trained in autism. Yeah, I just wanted to say, so one of the things I was talking about in the last, I can't remember, in the last appointment, I was just like, I don't know, I was just waffling on a little bit, as I do, so I'm just going off on tangents, and I was just sort of talking about, you know, when I was a teenager and I was very idealistic, you know, as teenagers are, they have great hopes for the future, the world's their oyster, you know, and I didn't think my problems, if you like, I sort of thought my problems would resolve, okay, I was thinking they're going to resolve, you know, because when you're a teenager, time seems almost so expansive, you've got so much time in your hands, things will just resolve, you know, and I was also a little bit in denial about my problems as well, and I really thought I could do anything, you know. I was stuck at home most of the time. That was before I'd got help from OCD. Not as bad as it is now, funny enough. I could still go uptown, but I went to get like a crack of dawn, or when the shops opened, so it wasn't quite as restrictive as it is now, but it was the last time when I had really bad OCD, apart from we weren't in a pandemic at the time, and I did manage to draw myself out of it. I think it was a bit, yeah, that was the last time it got really bad. But not as long lasting as this one. And it was resolved a lot quicker. But anyway, even so, and I was at my local university, and I did manage to go to my local university. I wasn't in halls, I stayed at home, so it's like home from home really. And I was fine going to lectures and stuff like that, because that felt quite a controlled environment. But yeah, I sort of feel I use university a little bit as a delaying tactic, you know, a delaying tactic in terms of putting off adulting as long as I can. And I was kind of thinking maybe things will resolve by the time I finish university. Again, we'll tackle the question of the fact I'm going to find it really hard to get a job because of all of my problems, but we won't tackle that quite yet. You know, I can just do this university and focus on this right now. It's kind of a delaying tactic in a way. You know, you go to university, it's something you can do, like an extension of school. Like it didn't really change my routine that much because I was used to that kind of structured environment. You were still a kid, essentially. You didn't yet have to face being an adult. That's basically, I think, why I went to university, actually. It was a delaying tactic. Because I kind of knew I had problems, but I was also in denial. And I had all these hopes. I thought, oh, I'm going to be a teacher, you know, it'll all get resolved, I'll work it all out, you know, it'll be fine, you know. And of course, I was considering doing a PCGE and all of that, but, you know, I couldn't do it because of my issues, and my OCD was getting really bad and stuff. And then obviously, you know, eventually I ended up getting my autism diagnosis and everything else, and then I had to face up to how bad my problems actually were, and actually, you know, I couldn't handle a workplace, and reality is that's never going to happen unless my issues are cured, which would be great, by the way, if I wake up one day without any problems. Hurrah! But I just really don't see that happening. It hasn't happened yet, and I just, you know, unless I get some real cutting edge support that currently I do not think exists, or maybe does exist but you have to pay thousands of pounds for it or something, I don't know, but I seriously just do not see it happening. And that's just me being a realist, because I've become more realistic as I've got older, which I don't think is a bad thing, because I've got my feet more firmly on the ground and I can focus on what I can do, and I can more accept the situation. But it can be a bit difficult though when other people, well-meaning individuals, who are trying to make you feel better by trying to tell you that actually maybe, you know, you can still get a career, you know. Okay, maybe like in 10 or 20 years time, you know, you're still quite young, maybe at some point in the future, you can get a career, you know. Because, you know, you know, basically because you can work from home now, you can do it on a computer and so on, you don't need to go out necessarily, maybe you can get a career, you know. So I think, in fact, you know, I've got absolutely no CV. Well, I have got some CV, I've done some voluntary work and stuff, but, you know, oh, you can go and get a career maybe, you know. Yeah, that's kind of basically what the psychologist was saying, but just trying to be nice, and she was trying to, I think she was actually trying to give me a sense of optimism or something like that. It kind of has the opposite effect. And yeah, and then I had to basically explain the nature of my disability, because yeah, I might be, you know, you can work from home now, you know, everything can be made so you can work from home, but that's kind of beside the point, because the nature of my disability is not just the fact I have OCD, so obviously that will remove my germ phobia, but it's not just, my issues are not limited to that. I also have very, very severe executive functioning problems, which is connected to my autism, which means I'm monofocused so intensively on one thing. I find it very hard to switch focus and do things that are not currently the centre of my attention. This could be very, very problematic. When I was at university, it was lucky for me that I was intensively interested in what I was studying, which meant I could monofocus and do nothing else, because my parents did everything for me. My mum did all the cooking, all the laundry. I didn't need to do any adulting. I was literally in my room when I wasn't at lectures. I was in my room, intensively reading and taking notes, and that was basically what I did every single day for those 3 years. Whereas other university students were out partying or whatever and multitasking and doing other stuff and socialising, I was just focusing on that one thing. And I could do that. But the problem is that now I have to do everything else. I have to cook, I have to basically do everything else. So if I had a career, I wouldn't have any life. Literally, I would literally be doing nothing. What I mean is, how can I put it? I'm trying to think of ways to put it, because it's really hard to explain my disability. And people often get the wrong idea when I try and explain it. And so it's hard to explain it in language that makes sense. I also find it really hard to fill out forms. I find it really hard to multitask. I find it really hard to... my attention can switch very quickly, in which case I go into complete meltdown because I suddenly can't fulfil someone's expectations. And this has happened before when I once tried to do a course at college and I end up basically ditching it because the work it used up so much of my executive functioning capabilities. I was so stressed, my anxiety was going even worse than what it normally is. And because I had to do all those other adulting things as well, basically. Now, if someone else was doing all the adulting for me, and that was the sole focus of my attention, and they were helping me fill out forms, and they were helping me with organisation, because I need a full-time support worker to basically help me stay on top of everything, which, you know, possible, but I need someone else to do all the cooking and everything else for me, because I can't do all of it. That's because my executive functioning problems are very severe, and that's on top of all the anxieties and everything else, and my monofocus, and the fact that I can't switch off from things I'm interested in, which also distracts me and takes over my time. if my interest, and also I find it very hard to kind of it's really hard to explain. But anyway, basically, unless my problems were miraculously cured overnight, I'm not going to have a career. Let's not kid ourselves. It's just not happening, and I've had to accept that. I mean, I'm never going to be able to work in a normal job, like a paid job. So I have to accept that, and I have to just focus on what I can do, which is essentially voluntary work. And I've done a lot of voluntary work. Like literally before COVID, I was at Age UK for 5 years on the till. I was volunteering at an art gallery. I did stuff at an office for a disability charity, which was like shredding and stuff. I was doing loads of voluntary work, but I could manage that because they were flexible. I wasn't doing it all the time. It wasn't on a contract, so if I couldn't go in, I wasn't going to get fired. And there was quite a lot of times when I couldn't go in for whatever reason because my anxiety was too high. And basically, it's a way I could be productive because I like being productive. I like doing things. I'm always looking for new opportunities. I'm always looking for things to do. Because I need to be productive. I've got a brain. I need to use it. But I've just had to come to terms with the fact that I'm never going to have a job, and it does annoy me. When I say never have a job, I mean never have a job in this sort of like understood sense in capitalist society. Obviously voluntary work is still a job of sorts, but it's, you know what I mean, not a paid job, like normal people have. And yeah, I've just had to come to terms and accept that. And it's difficult, and a lot when you are disabled, you face other people's judgments because I appear more able than I actually am, and I am able. I am able. It's not that I'm not able. In some things, I'm very able. But the issue is that people then think that because I'm able in those areas, it generalises out to being able to do all of those other executive functioning things that I find extremely difficult, and and that's part of the reason why I went and had a cognitive assessment as an adult, just so I could have, for my own benefit really more than anything, just so I could have this in black and white, just so I can show myself and others that this is a real thing. And sure enough, that's what it showed. I've got really severely delayed processing speed. My executive functioning is really low or really poor. I've got working memory impairments basically, and my non-verbal is like right down the other end of the graph. So that kind of confirmed the difficulties I experienced, but gave it a kind of black and white, concrete, visual kind of thing that I could show people and look at and say, yeah, so I'm not, this isn't all in my head, this is an actual thing, it does exist. Obviously I knew that anyway, and I had tests when I was a kid that also showed that, but it's kind of, It's just really annoying though when you have to constantly explain your disability to people, and it uses up so much energy and spoons, particularly when you feel people don't understand you, and particularly when as a disabled person you feel judged all the time. Basically like you're a sinner just because you're disabled, and because you appear more competent. Like people who are more obviously disabled, they don't have to justify themselves. But if you don't appear disabled, there's always this feeling that people are kind of judging you, and they think, oh, you can do that, so you can do this. But anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you for watching.